Välkomna till Stora Aktiedagen här i Göteborg den 4 november 2019. Mitt namn är Peter Malmström och jag kommer att vara moderator under den här presentationen utav Industrial Solar. Vi hälsar Christian Zahler välkommen. Please.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for the warm welcome. It's a pleasure to be here today. And we're already in the middle of the presentation. I wanted to go back. Didn't want to start so quickly. Sorry. This is the beginning. So, solar heat and more for industry. Who we are, what we do, and why we do it. Industrial Solar. There's a holding, Industrial Solar Holding Europe AB, which is listed at Spotlight. And this holding holds 100% of a limited in Germany, Industrial Solar GmbH. I'm the CEO of the holding and the managing director of the limited. And let me tell you a few words about our history. Our company was founded already back in 2008 in the environment of the Fraunhofer Institute for Solar Energy Systems, which is the largest research institute in Europe on solar energy. And if Mr. Trump continues like that, it's going to be the largest institute in the world because currently the biggest one is NREL in the US. Initially, we were basically funding the company to promote and sell our linear Finnell technology, which is a concentrating solar thermal technology that can generate high temperatures. But we quickly understood that industry needs more solutions than that, or that this technology is a solution only for part of the industry. Nowadays, we are a turnkey provider, a one-stop shop for industry that wants to become green and clean. We analyze the energy demand of the industrial customer, and we tailor a system for those customers. This is a little timeline from the beginning, 2008 until now. We have won a couple of awards. We got the most renowned award in Germany for environment and climate. We have had an investor, Centrotech, a stock-listed company in Germany. We are cooperating with well-known big companies. We have had contracts with Chevron, with Pfizer, Heineken, and others. So we are on the way on the market since about 10 years. Why do we do it? Nowadays, we do have a focus of kind of a fixation on electricity. But this is not the full picture. We are addressing industry, the industrial energy demand, and industry is responsible for 1/3 of the global energy demand. Roughly the other third is transportation, another third is residential. And if you look at the energy demand of industry, then you realize that they need electricity, but not as much as you might have expected. They only need about 25% of their total energy demand is in form of electric energy. And most of the energy they require in form of thermal energy, about 75%. So in total, you can say 20% of the global energy demand is heat in industry. And so far, we're covering that heat demand in industry with fossil fuel, natural gas, oil, coal, some biomass, but mainly fossil fuels. And we have to change that in the future. And solar energy is a very good way of covering that energy demand, that heat demand in industry. So this is a more deep analysis of this industrial energy demand that you see here. Currently, about 45% are covered with coal, 30% with natural gas, 15% with oil. And the interesting part is here the differentiation in temperature. So about 30% of the energy are required in a temperature range below 150 degrees C, where you can operate with non-concentrating collectors. for example, like the one shown before by Savosolar, flat plate collectors, they can provide temperatures 60, 80 degrees. There are other technologies like vacuum tube collectors that can go more, can go higher, or that are first linear concentrating technologies like the parabolic trough of our partner Absolicon here in Sweden that can generate temperatures up to roughly 160 degrees C. Then comes a range from 150 to 400 degrees C. It's, for example, distilling or tire production for automotive industry, or also the paint shops in automotive industry, chemical industry, many processes. They are requiring that temperatures between 150 and 400. And then last but not least, you have a big chunk, almost half of the thermal energy demand, which is for higher temperatures, like for metal and glass and others. And with our solar technologies, we are addressing the lower 50%, the range up to 400 degrees C. This slide shows you the industrial energy demand, and it's very interesting to see that the main growth of industry is to be expected in the emerging markets, not in the OECD countries. It's in the non-OECD countries. And you see here countries like China, India, Latin America, Middle East, Africa. There will be the growth in industry. Not going to be in Europe, not going to be in Germany, not going to be in Sweden. And most of these countries are in regions where you have plenty of sunshine. And this is exactly the market that we are addressing. So they expect like 400% of the industrial growth until 2050 happening in those countries where we have plenty of sunshine. Also interesting to see when we see the plans for the 2-degree scenario, that the power and refining sector should achieve 0 or even negative emissions, that about in 2050, 2060, industry will be the main emitter of carbon dioxide. All the other sectors will come down, will reduce their emissions, but industry will remain at a rather high level, according to those scenarios by the International Energy Agency. And this is exactly the point where we have to act, and this is our market. So, as I said at the beginning, we are a one-stop shop. We have a rather broad technological portfolio. We are offering all kinds of different solar thermal technologies, but we also offer photovoltaics. So we are designing a system which meets the demand of the customer. For customers that require higher temperatures, we have our own product. That's our flagship product. It's this linear Finnell collector. It's a uniaxially tracked collector, which is concentrating sunlight onto a vacuum receiver, where the radiation is converted to heat. And in this vacuum receiver, we circulate a heat transfer fluid. It can be either oil or pressurized water, or we directly generate steam. And from a technical point of view, we have developed a product which is modular. So we have modules of a length of 4 meters, and with these modules we are building strings up to 100 meters. And for 1 megawatt we need about 80 modules that are 4 strings with 20 modules each. Integration of solar technology in industry is a big topic, and we have realized that this has become a very important sales argument for us. You have some kind of customer, let's say a brewery, and they tell you, yes, we want to reduce our emissions. Can you help us with your solar technology? And we say, yes, what's the temperature you need? And they say, yeah, we have some processes that operate at 80 degrees C. Can we use solar energy there? And we say, yes, so then we have to tackle with your production process. We have to integrate a heat exchanger at a certain point. And then typically the reaction is, I don't want you to touch our production line. And there, it's nice to have our concentrating linear Finnell collector, which can generate high temperatures, because there we integrate directly on the supply level. We don't touch the production line, We just connect to their steam grid, to their pressurized water grid, and we inject the heat on the supply level, meaning we are injecting heat on the level where the conventional system is feeding the system. So where we have a steam boiler, for example, that is fired with natural gas or oil, that is, for example, providing steam at 180 degrees C, and then the 180 degrees C steam is going to the first process. Then you can use waste heat from the first process for the second process at 140 degrees C. And at the end of the day, you can use the waste heat from that process, for example, for bottle washing. So we don't touch the system, we integrate on the supplier level. This has become a very, very important sales argument for our technology. There you can see such a system in reality. You can see the primary mirrors, which are uniaxially tracked, and on top, the black line is the absorber tube surrounded by a glass tube, and on the back you see a secondary mirror, which is reflecting the solar radiation that doesn't hit directly on the back side of the tube. Some examples, references. This has been our first commercial direct steam generation system at a pharmaceutical company. It's a smaller system with about 400 square meters of Finnell collectors, generating steam for this pharmaceutical company. We do have a small buffer storage, so-called steam drum, with a buffer capacity of like half an hour full load. And this system is now operational since 2015. And it's installed in Amman in Jordan. And the next system, that's a bigger system. It's installed at a tobacco company, German Tobacco International, also in Amman, Jordan. It has 1,254 square meters. It can provide a bit more than 700 kilowatt thermal power, and it's generating steam at temperatures up to 225 degrees C. What's special here is we did the complete turnkey installation, including a cooling system. So the customer not only needs steam, but they also need cold. So we generate steam, and a part of the steam is going to power an absorption chiller, which is converting heat to cold. And after my presentation, or after the Q&A, you're going to see a little video on that system, which was made by the customer and which I'm not allowed to show on the web. This is why we show it separately at the end. Coming to the figures. Industrial Solar Holding, just a very few statements here. We have shown already that we can reach profitability with about 2 million euro turnover in 2017. In 2018, we had a restructuring process. We had there a conflict of interest between two shareholders in Industrial Solar, and we did a restructuring and we made the IPO. Basically, the business year 2018 is only going from 1st of August until 31st of December, so this was a special year. And now 2019 is still kind of special. We are ramping up the activities. We have rather long lead times. Typically, customers in industry, till they decide on an investment of in the range of millions on energy supply, they take their time, typically between 1 and 2 years. And we have focused strongly in the last months on cost reduction and project development, and also energy contracting, which is a very important tool to overcome the market entry hurdle. Basically, contracting means that we sell heat as a service. A financial partner is taking the burden of the direct investment from the customer, and the customer basically only signs a long-term heat purchase agreement. Our goal is that we reach profitability within the next 2 to 3 years, and we do have a strong focus on the product and project development and also new business activities. Sales pipeline. Over the last 10 years, we have generated a huge sales pipeline of about 3,000 megawatt, 3 gigawatt. which is not yet being converted. So you may ask, you have a long sales pipeline, but why don't you have hundreds of projects? The problem is industry is really interested, but they're waiting for the perfect moment. Currently, natural fossil fuel are still very cheap, and also carbon emission taxes are very, very low. But they're getting, or it's very obvious for industry that the regulations and the consumers are closing in, and we are getting a very strong attention from the market. We had a few weeks back, within 10 days, we got calls from the biggest food corporation in the world, the biggest tire manufacturer in the world, and the biggest tobacco company in the world. They called us up within 10 days. But they don't order immediately. They just want to have the information. They do the feasibility analysis. They check the financial parameters, and they have everything prepared for a decision in the near future when the regulations become like that, that it's really kind of a must for them. Now it's a nice to have for the time being. Our development of the stock price, briefly said, we are well above the initial issue price, which was between 5 and 6 kroner. We are currently between 10, 11. I could also say for the track record we have and for the potential we have in terms of market, it's a rather low evaluation. We do have, you can see here the members of the board. Joachim Bieström, some of you might know him. He's the CEO of Absolicon. They are manufacturing a parabolic trough collector, or to be more precise, nowadays they are selling automatic production lines to manufacture this parabolic trough collector. So, brief summary. Why solar process heat? Industrial process heat accounts for about 20% of the global final energy demand, which is huge. More than 50% of the industrial process heat demand is below 400 degrees C. This is the temperature range that we can supply with our solar technologies. There are some estimates out there, some calculations by the International Energy Agency that the potential for solar process heat only in the European Union is about 100 gigawatt. But currently, we don't see European Union as our core target market. We are more focusing on countries like Jordan or Morocco or Chile. And so they are more attractive markets than the European Union. But anyway, the potential is gigantic. The market for concentrating solar heat is still at an early stage, but it's significantly gaining momentum, dynamics. Why industrial solar? So we have a very long track record. We are a spin-off from the largest research institute. We do have the know-how, the experience. We have become the world leader with Finnell technology. There is no other company out there that has done more projects in industry with this technology. There are competitors. There's a growing number of competitors out there, which is a good signal for us. If we wouldn't have any competitors, then we would ask ourselves if you're on the right track. We have started to develop our technology already back in the 90s. We have built the first prototype in 2004, and we have 14 plants installed in 7 countries. So we are able to do international project management and EPC. We do have an innovative technology with very strong competitive advantages. For example, we have a much higher ground usage factor, and due to the flat structure of the mirrors, so a parabolic trough is more like a sail in the wind, and you can't go on the rooftop, but with our Finnell we are able to go on rooftops. It's very simple to maintain. We need little water for cleaning, and we are able to integrate in existing industrial processes on the supply level, which is very important. And we also have the strategy of having a premium product with high quality components. We are using stainless steel, aluminum, special mirrors, Siemens control technology, and we are also targeting a lifetime of 25 years. We do have a worldwide network of distribution partners, partly with market leaders in several industries. We have a very long, promising sales pipeline, which is slowly turning into orders. And we do have a highly experienced team and network for experts. What are the market drivers? We have to decrease the system costs. We're working on that. We have achieved our goals. We are working further. The subsidies for fossil fuels have to disappear. There are still many countries out there where fossil fuels are subsidized. Tax incentives, carbon emission taxes are very important. Also, of course, the price for fossil fuel and upcoming obligations for industry to use renewable energies for their processes, and increasing corporate efforts, basically the consumer power. It's us who are in the driver's seat, and we can force the industry to produce clean and green and to reduce their emissions. Thank you very much. So much about it.
Please, Christian, take a seat.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for an interesting presentation. There are lots of things going on in the company, I can understand.
Yes, very dynamic times.
Yes.
And it's very good to see that after those low oil price, which was giving us a very hard time when the barrel of oil cost only $30, $40, basically nobody was interested, or they say, oh, it's way too expensive. Now with the discussion of climate change, they're all coming back and understand it's not expensive at all.
No. Okay. Please be aware that if there is anyone who would like to pose questions, that's quite okay. Yes, let's start back there. I will come back to you, sir.
I would like to know, is there a limit if you look at the globe between
Yeah.
latitude?
Yeah.
Please repeat the question.
Is there a limit in terms of latitude or geographical areas where this technology makes sense? So concentrating solar technologies need direct radiation, means they need clear sky, blue sky. If you have clouds or mist or fog, it doesn't work really. And there are maps out there where you can see the direct irradiation. Sweden and Germany are not a market, but also only in terms of latitude it doesn't work. So for example, Southeast Asia is very humid. And the high humidity means you have not good direct irradiation. So what are very good regions are a good part of India, northern part of India, some parts of China. Australia would be perfect, but they don't have too much industry, only a few million people living there, sitting on a pile of coal surrounded by a sea of gas. But they also tend to start to change. MENA region, Middle East, North Africa, South Africa. So in terms of geography, the area is huge. Okay. And of course, we are targeting currently the most attractive countries, which means high irradiation, high fossil fuel price, and industry.
Okay, thank you for that answer. Yes, sir, we have a question.
I'm interested in the fact that the solar energy is very used. Do you provide some kind of system for storage of energy?
Yes.
So repeat the question.
Sorry. Solar energy is volatile, so only have solar energy when the sun is shining. So if we are providing some kind of storage, I mean, industry always needs security of supply. They always have their boilers in place, boilers which are fired with fossil fuels typically. We are a fuel saver. We are integrating with the existing conventional fossil-fired system, but we also integrate buffer storages. So we are not integrating long-term storages, overnight storages, but typically we integrate buffer storages with a full power capacity of like 2 hours. For example, with steam system, we have our gliding storage storages, which have a very competitive cost. So we can store temperatures of about 200 degrees C for 40 to 50 euros per kilowatt hour, which is really good compared to other technologies. And so we can basically level out clouds going over the system, or the customer opening some valve for some process and needing a lot of heat. So this works very nicely, and we have measurement data which were not in this presentation, where we show that we can provide process heat for a factory all day, even with varying solar irradiation and varying demand.
Okay, thank you very much, Christian. Any other questions out here? I've read that you have signed an agreement, a contract called GIZ. Can you expand a little bit upon that, and how does this agreement, partnership influence the company?
Yeah, that's a very important project. GIZ, it's probably not so commonly known in Sweden. GIZ is a governmental organization in Germany. It's Gesellschaft für internationale Zusammenarbeit. It means Society for International Cooperation. Basically, the German government is helping emerging market countries or developing countries to solve their own problems. And of course, they are promoting also German technology. It's a win-win situation. And we have signed a cooperation agreement with GIZ, which is helping us to promote or to open the market for heat purchase agreements in industry. This is all the insiders in the branch know that it's a major issue is that industry does not or cannot use their liquidity, their working capital, to invest in energy infrastructure. Basically, they just want to pay the energy bill at the end of the month, like they do now with their gas bill or electricity bill. They don't want to invest millions in infrastructure. So to overcome this, technology providers like us are teaming up with financial partners. There's plenty of money out there that has to be invested in green activities. And such, we can overcome that investment hurdle. So the financial partner is doing the investment, we provide the system, and the customer pays every month his energy bill. That's called heat purchase agreement. And this project is exactly helping us to do that in the first reference case. And we expect to sign a term sheet for a heat purchase agreement within the next 6 months latest.
Okay, I see. Thank you very much for that answer. Any other questions out here in the audience? No? Another agreement that I've read about is the EU Gateway that has to do a little bit with Japan. Is that correct, or have I misunderstood anything there?
It's not an agreement. It's a EU Gateway is how to say, a support of the European Union for companies in Europe to develop new markets. Okay. And for us, it was a new experience using that program. We haven't done it before. And our customer in Jordan, Japan Tobacco International, is a Japanese company. And we have had a very strong interest of a very big Japanese company in the past, which was Kawasaki. And so I thought, it's a nice opportunity. Let's go to Japan. It's highly subsidized. It's a very low-risk, low-cost activity, being a week in Japan with the support of Europe. And surprisingly, the Japanese are quite conservative. I had meetings with very big Japanese corporates, Mitsubishi, Hitachi, Toyota, boiler manufacturers, and to my surprising, they all are kind of nice and interested, but they are kind of reluctant of really changing their business. Okay.
But you haven't had a chance to familiarize yourself with the Japanese market.
Basically, this was a very interesting opportunity to see if Japan is a market. But also, I didn't want to address Japan as a market, but I wanted to team up with Japanese players because they are very big Japanese corporations that are worldwide active, that are active in very sunny regions like Australia or Africa. And this was the idea. But basically, I would say it was a missionary mission. So I was spreading the word, and I think the Japanese will take some more time till they pick up.
Final question, short answer. Why should an investor look into investing in industrial solar at this time?
I think it's a good time. Climate change has come to the last corner of the world. Everybody, almost everybody, understands that we have to tackle that problem, that we have to phase out fossil fuels. And we are very well positioned. We have started our business, let's say, a little bit too early, 10 years back, if I'm looking back now. But now in the year 2019, 2020, with all those policies coming up to mitigate climate change, we are in the pole position. And the market potential is just huge.
Okay.
And we don't need so many projects. So the early adapters out there, the companies that are producing organic food and so on, they are enough for us for the time being, for the next 2-3 years to grow the business. And then the maturity will follow.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.